Throughout history, women have been villainized and belittled, while at the same time worshipped and idealized. One of the most common things that women were idealized for was their fertility or their ability to birth children. There were even goddesses dedicated to fertility and childbirth, such as the Roman goddess Venus, the Greek goddess Hera, and the Egyptian goddess Isis. For centuries, women were only acknowledged for their ability to have children. However, that did not mean they always wanted to have children. While women had families and bore children throughout history, they also terminated unwanted pregnancies. Abortion progressed with society and medical research from the beginning of human existence. In ancient times, plants such as pennyroyal and syphilis were used to induce abortions. The history of abortion also progressed with the history of America. When the Pilgrims first came to America, abortion was, surprisingly, a safe and easy procedure which was widely available to women in need. Even Puritans, often seen as one of the most strict and intense religious groups, brought the abortion until the quickening policy over from England, and these early term abortions were often practiced by having a woman ingest herbs which would induce one. As more Victorian sensibilities overtook America, so did anti-abortion sentiment. By 1910, abortion was criminalized in most states. At the same time, many people began to discredit doctors who were important to a woman's health, such as homeopathic doctors and midwives, to assert male-dominated medicine and medical science. By these men's standards, abortion was an unscientific procedure because it was often performed by homeopathic doctors or midwives. Due to the delegitimization of women's medicine, and campaigns of the Catholic Church to turn public opinion against abortion. It was illegal in the United States to perform or receive an abortion for about 100 years, until the Roe v. Wade decision. During this time, about 5,000 women died each year from complications due to abortions. Before the passing of Roe v. Wade, it was determined that 1/3 of women in America had received an abortion, despite the fact that they were illegal. Some doctors performed abortions in secret, and groups such as Jane, caring, qualified parties, performed abortions during this time period. However, a lot of women were not so lucky. They received unsafe, unsanitary abortions from unqualified, quote-unquote, doctors, or performed home abortions, in which they would poison themselves, throw themselves downstairs, stick coat hangers into their bodies, or other such dangerous practices in order to rid themselves of an unwanted pregnancy. Along with the history of abortion, one must explore the history of birth control in the U.S., because, as was found in a study by Washington University, quote, providing birth control to women at no cost substantially reduces unplanned pregnancies and cuts abortion rates by a range of 62 to 78% compared to the national rate, unquote. In the U.S., before the late 1800s, information about birth control was freely available to people looking to learn about it. However, with the Comstock laws passed in 1873, contraceptives were deemed obscene and illicit, and it was made a federal offense to send birth control through the mail or across state lines. In stricter states such as Massachusetts, even informing people of contraceptives was a federal crime. It's strange to think that Americans would allow a law which makes discussion and sharing of information illegal, seeing as free speech is the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights. Women such as Margaret Sanger made sure to fight these laws, and the Comstock laws were relaxed a bit over the next decade. The Comstock laws were finally dissolved in 1965, and it was determined that married women would have the right to birth control, and in 1972, unmarried women were finally given the same right. In 1956, the birth control pill was authorized to help women regulate their periods, but many got it for the side effect of preventing pregnancy. In 1960, Envoid was the first medication to be approved as a contraceptive and improves the livelihoods of many women. Intertwined with the struggle to legalize birth control was the struggle to legalize abortion. Although birth control significantly reduces the risk of having a child, a woman should still have the right to her body if she does not wish to be pregnant. During the time period women fought for birth control, they also fought for the right to abortion. They won this battle in 1973, which marked the first time in about 100 years in America that abortion was legal. The decision made in Roe v. Wade ruled that a woman had a right to her privacy, which includes getting an abortion. Feminists everywhere rejoiced in a victory they thought would never happen, but as they were celebrating, the National Right to Life Committee was formed with the express purpose of overturning the Roe v. Wade decision. They facilitated the passing of laws such as the Hyde Amendment, which prevented Medicaid from funding abortions, and they also introduced the idea to include a right to life clause in the Constitution. Laws made during the Bush presidency prohibited late-term abortions, but with vague language that made it easy for conservative states and senators to make more and more restrictive laws on the practice. The passing of Roe v. Wade significantly bettered women's health in the U.S. In 1965, 17% of deaths of pregnant women were due to unsafe abortion, whereas nowadays only 0.3% are accredited to unsafe abortions. The percentage of women who sustain serious injuries from abortion soon dropped to 0.05%. The right to an abortion not only affected women's lives health-wise, but their social, economic, and career well-being as well. Even the Supreme Court stated quote, "The ability of women to participate equally in the economic and social life of the nation has been facilitated by their ability to control their reproductive lives," unquote. It was even found in a study that access to abortion increased women's participation in the workforce, especially Black women, in which participation rose 6.9 percentage points. Access to abortion has been a hot topic in the U.S. for as long as most U.S. citizens have lived, but it is undeniable that access to abortions is an important aspect of women's health care and allows them to improve their lives overall. If abortion is to be reduced, it is shown that making it illegal only makes the situation worse. So instead, we must look to better access to birth control as the solution, because it has helped before.